Sky Squad, we are back in the building and we are here to discuss Love and Marriage Huntsville. The episode is titled We Need a Resolution because we need some resolution from last week's altercation. Okay. That's basically the premise for this entire episode. How do we as a group move forward from last week's Ponderosa that ended in the melee that shut production down? Okay. That's the question. I mean, that's really the question right there. So, how do we move forward? And we talked about this last week. Like, where does the show, the cast, go from here? Now, I guess that is going to depend on really, in your opinion, what you think is the root cause of this issue. Because it seems as though most people on this show would agree that Miss Wanda was the person who was in the wrong in this situation and crossed a boundary and now needs to be managed. I'll say it like that. And we even get Q, aka Funky Dineva, heading down to Huntsville, having a sit down Ponderosa with Latisha and Marceau, and pretty much telling Latisha what I think a lot of people have been wanting to tell her for some time. But we'll get into all of that. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to rate this episode. I'm going to give it I'm going to actually give this episode a 10. I'm going to give it a 10 because it was interesting to see the recap and the recollections of everyone's different perspectives of this altercation that occurred last week. Destiny is still hanging on to Melody didn't speak to me. Okay. We get a lot more of Stormy in this episode, which was also good to see as well. And it made me want to see actually more of her. We also see the fallout from the altercation as it relates to Latisha and Marceau, and how it seems as though their relationship seemed the most strained afterwards. Okay. So I just found this episode interesting from a psychological perspective. So that's why I rate it so high. But you guys let me know what you rate it in the chatterization. Okay. And I always talk about this. Every episode doesn't need to be wham, bam, pow, pow, pow. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's subtle nuance that really takes an episode into a certain category. And after an altercation, it's always interesting to see how the group either rallies or does not. Okay, and then in this case, I think the group is rallying, as we will see, and then as we get into the preview for next week's episode, we definitely are going to see how that rallying turns out. All right. So we start this episode back at Madani. Tiffany actually stops by, who we have not seen. Tiffany is never there when there is a big group. Like, she always seems to miss the major ponderosas. Okay. She wants the tea though, and Destiny is still upset that two people came who shouldn't have come. Okay. She's still, rocking with that. She recaps that Stormy brought her some gifts. But, Destiny is trying to be open to having a genuine conversation. But honestly, her guard is still up with Stormy. Okay. Destiny says that Melody walked in and didn't speak. So she's still on that. I wonder if at any point in time, like, should production have, probably not, because the reality is the reality. And maybe production wouldn't have known that until they went back to edit the scene. But for right now, I guess this is the reality for Destiny, that Melody did not speak. But as Stormy is going to say something later to the effect that, why would you wait until she's walking out of your store to acknowledge that she didn't speak versus calling her out in the moment when you felt like you were being disrespected? That's just my question. Anyway, um, she talks about how, she said something to Melody afterwards, how Melody said, you're looking for a moment. Destiny said she is the moment because it's her event. And I was like, oh. Let me see if I can put this as honestly and as politically as correct as possible. Destiny, for me, if you were really the moment in that moment, you would have made the moment. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't capitalize, in my opinion, on the episode being centered around your grand opening. You almost became a passive participant in what should have been one of your most active episodes ever. And instead of being, ag- I would rather you have been aggressive than passive aggressive. You understand what I'm saying? In the moment, Melody didn't speak. Hey, I know you're not gonna come up into my establishment and not speak to me. Okay. That's what we won't do. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you felt like that, say it then. Make the most of those moments if you're going to claim that you are the moment. I mean, in my mind, it's like reality TV 101. And I don't think she's gotten that yet because, in my opinion, a lot of times she is too busy being in her own emotions, as she will admit later on, to really capitalize on things that I feel like are low hanging fruit moments that she could easily grab, steal the spotlight on, and really embrace this role that she has on this show. But that's just me again. Tiffany wants to know why people are not celebrating, Destiny's store, and that people need to. Everybody been saying she need to work on her timing, but maybe other people need to work on theirs. These are things that I feel like Tiffany is saying in the moment, but I don't feel like she would actually say to Melody. Like, because I'm like, if you're really talking about Melody, but you probably would never say it to her face. I don't think, personally, but that's just me. Um, Tiffany wonders if any of this has tarnished the shop, and we will talk about that in a little bit. And apparently, we learned that Destiny got apologies from everybody except from the person that she believes started it all, which is unspoken, but it's believed, in my opinion, that she's talking about Melody. Meanwhile, Kimmy and Maurice are talking about this, a resolution for the situation. It's like a day or two later, I guess, or the next day. I can't recall. But Latisha arrives solo, and we learned that she had a fight with Marceau from the night before. Apparently, he told her in a situation like that she just needs to be quiet and listen to him. She doesn't like how he spoke to her and wants them, Maurice and Kimmy, to talk to him about that. Maurice is like, we could try to talk to Marceau, but it's really not going to do any good. And that's pretty much true. Marceau seems to me the type of person that, I mean, once he has made up in his mind about something, you're not going to really change it. So it is what it is. And she actually, at this point in time, just needs to know who her husband is. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that the way he spoke to her was right. I'm just saying that it should be expected at this point that that is his style of communication. You guys are what, 15, 16 years in at this point. I'm sure it ain't changed much. Okay. Marceau, on for his part, feels like, the tension was building up for people that weren't going to fight their own battles. Okay. Personally speaking, it did look like Melody and Miss Wanda were about to indeed fight their own battles. But the problem is for Marceau is that for him, and these are his words, he says that he and Martell were able to squash their beef. Apparently, they had a discussion afterwards, and he says logically, like men do. I guess that's the part that I take a little bit of issue with, because it was them two that also came to a point of spontaneous combustion, and the men were also in no better of a position than the women were. And though their altercation stemmed from their feelings about what the women were doing, they still also got into a more physical situation than Miss Wanda and Melody. Okay. But I understand where he's coming from, to this, to the degree that the kinetic spark that got things jumped off was really Wanda and Melody. Anyway, Marceau realized that it was going to blow up and basically says that Wanda cannot be connected to his life. Maurice points out that Wanda is still also Latisha's mom, but Marceau realizes the consequences that could have come from that and doesn't want to put himself in that position again. So Tisha and Kimmy go inside, and Kimmy tries to explain to Tisha about her mom being the centerpiece of the drama, and what Marceau was trying to communicate to her is that, listen, if something pops off, it's going to be the men that end up really getting into it and going to jail. And for Tisha, she just doesn't want to be spoken to like a slave. Basically, he's telling her, like, at a certain point in certain situations, she needs to just shut up and listen to him. And she's like, I'm not a slave. I'm not your concubine. And I also have a voice, and I don't want to feel voiceless. Which I think that there's a middle range that they could get to in that situation. She claims that she wasn't about to get turned up, but I can't say that she would not have gotten turned up if her mama and Melody had actually gotten into it. And that is what it is. Anyway, they end up saying that, Marceau wants to still work with Martell with regards to maybe helping build out the Madani suites. And Tisha's like, I don't want to do business with him at this point. I can't say that I blame her. I don't think any of them should probably be doing business together at this point, especially after all that. But it is what it is. Maurice asked if he could, if Marceau would ever, well, if they can't partner together, would you ever hire Martell as, like a contractor? And basically, Marceau says he would never work with an unlicensed contractor. Yet another shot at Martell and the builder's license. The saga continues. We have not yet gotten an update on that. But do you guys think that he's gotten that builder's license yet? That's a good question. Anyway, Martell goes to check on Melody. She appreciates, him having her back during the whole altercation. And, I feel like let me say this. Melody feels like Destiny is basically just lying at this point, because her position is, well, I spoke to her and she's saying that I did not speak to her. Okay. So they recap the fight, and, they agree that they're a family. And Melody wonders why Maurice jumped into Marceau's fight. But the bottom line for everybody seems to be that Miss Wanda has been coming for her, or from Melody's perspective, Miss Wanda has been coming for her on social media for months. Bottom line is, everybody seems to individually agree, except for Latisha, that Miss Wanda is the centerpiece of the drama. Okay. And so Martell and Melody, come up with the idea that the original six who started this show come back together, not as the comeback group, but come together to see how they can move forward from this drama and resolve their issues, and particularly talk about what's going on and what's going to happen with each of them moving forward with Miss Wanda, because Melody doesn't want to be around Miss Wanda ever again. Okay. So they decide that they're going to go back to where it all started, one of the first places they met as the comeback group on the show. All right. So Stormy invites Tiffany over to her estate to go run with the dogs and feed the horses, run up and down the driveway, and chit chat. Okay, chit chat, get ready with me. That's what they call it on the YouTube. Chit chat, get ready with. Woo. Anyway, I like Stormy's house. I'm like, this is what we need to be filming at. Like, can we film more over here? Y'all, this to me, now this is just me. I ain't and this no shade, but I want to see this life. Okay. I want to see estates. I want to see a pond and ponies. Okay. I want to see driveways that are longer than the Green Mile. You know what I'm saying? I want to see all of this type of living. Okay. I do personally because I'm just like, I mean, that's interesting to me. Fabulosity is where it's at for me. But anyway, I just want to live in Stormy's life. I mean, and now that I think about it, you know what I'm saying? It seems very relaxed, okay? Very chill. It seems like the soft life. Everybody's talking about this now, the soft life and soft living. And she got the people, doing the work at the warehouse. And all she got to do is feed the horse. And I'm sure she do so much more than that, okay? But at the end of the day, it's looking like good living to me. Okay, that's what I'm saying, and that's how I'm trying to live. That's my goals. Give me some ponies and a pond in the back. Okay. Anyway, um, you know, they basically talk about the Madani event. From Stormy's perspective, she feels like Melody didn't do anything wrong, and that's two things I can safely say. Okay, we can say this. One, do I feel like Melody had a right to confront Miss Wanda about what Miss Wanda was saying about the kids? Absolutely. Do I think that Melody confronting Miss Wanda was the jumping off point? Well, one of the jumping off points, yes. But again, I also feel like the energy in the space was already kinetic and it was already on fire and it was bound to combust. So, I think that anytime you confront Miss Wanda, I feel like Miss Wanda is about it. And then you have two people who at that point in time about it, and things are bound to explode. Okay, period. And I think that because maybe Stormy was inside, I don't know how much she could see, so I don't really know about that. But anyway, um, Stormy jokes that nobody can call her Ratchet no more, and Tiffany asks how Destiny felt. All of this would affect. She tells Stormy that she asked Destiny how she felt it would all affect her business, her reputation, and Stormy says, "Well, it's better than not being open. That was the most action her store has had in a while. She should have took it and ran with it." I Well, first of all, it's the truth. Okay. From a viewer perspective. Again, I stated all the spotlight is on Madani. How many times did we see the Madani billboard at the start at me during last episode? We saw it at the start of this episode. Do you know again what people pay? Let's put this in perspective like this. Let's put it in perspective. Advertisers pay good money to advertise their products and services on network television. And so they will pay thousands and sometimes millions of dollars for commercial spots during television shows. And so here we have Destiny, who has a business relaunch that is posted on social media. Okay. Not social media, because people are going to reshare the videos from the episode, as well as just the millions of eyes that are going to see the episode over the course of time. So, in my opinion, what you do is you are running a sale on everything in your store, because hopefully, I don't know if she has an online store or not, but hopefully, I mean, and I think that's a simple call to, I mean, I'm calling Heavenly Beauty. I'm calling anybody that's got a beauty supply store and finding out how do you make this work, with being on the show. I'm posting about it 18, 12, 20 times on social media. I'm live on social media afterwards talking about we running a sale tonight. Running rampant through Madani is the discount code. So to me, I feel like what Stormy said was shady, absolutely, but it was also, there was some truth in it as well. Take it and run with it. You know what I'm saying? In her confessional, Stormy believes you can turn a negative into a positive, and all press is good press, but she can't even get through saying what she got to say because she's laughing so hard. Stormy then invites Tiffany to be in her own commercial, and she agrees. Anyway, next, we see Martell going to visit, Chris Fletcher. He's looking for a new home. We learned that Huntsville was voted the #1 city in the U.S. to live in. And he wants Chris to help him find his next house. They recap him co-parenting with Melody. They recap the fight. We find out from Martell that while Marceau stated that they were in a better place, Martell still feels like Marceau was running his mouth. So it's still some residual feelings there on behalf of Martell about Marceau. And I feel, again, I can't help but feel like their altercation stemmed also from some residual built up frustrations that they all had with each other. But that's neither here nor there because they've allegedly resolved it. So, in my opinion, it is what it is. But if he still feel a type of way, I'm not surprised, depending on how many days might have passed since the altercation occurred. Okay. All right. So, he also talks about, that Martell and Marceau, he will not work with Marceau moving forward. I don't know if he's gotten wind of the fact that Latisha won't want to work with him or not, but he's just saying that they're not going to work together. And Chris basically predicts that Latisha is not going to be able to let this whole situation go. And they joke about how Melody has invited Martell to Destin, and Chris says, well, you never know where you'll be living after this Destin trip. And Martell jokes, yeah, you never know. I think it's safe to say that they probably won't be living together no time soon. Okay, because he's going strong with Sheree. Okay, going strong with Sheree. Meanwhile, over at the Canvas Beauty office, yet another reason why I feel like we need more of Stormy on the show. We get to see this warehouse, this thriving warehouse. Like, this is what I want to see more of. I need to see these type. See, to me, Stormy has made the most of this opportunity. We see the inside of her warehouse. You know what I'm saying? We see the business being run. We see Destiny stop by, and they talk about how they interacted at the Madani, opening or whatever, and Destiny feels like Stormy came correct, but other people didn't. And if she's not in a good space, then she don't say much or whatever. And we already know how I feel about that. She says that she would rather Stormy have brought her some Canvas beauty products than a Gucci bag so that they both can eat. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, see, you're not looking at the gift in the right way. You could have ate off that Gucci bag too. Put that thing up for sale on the Real. Actually, you could have put it up on sale on Facebook Marketplace, and you could have made some money back, bought some more products, paid some rent on the thing for another month. I don't know, but I'm just saying. You see, this is the thing. Destiny says she felt like she didn't want to be anybody's handout. That is a self-imposed prison. It's self-imposed. It's self-imposed. Because listen, I'm gonna tell, and I said this, I think last time, when I was at my lowest financially, anytime somebody came through with something, I did not look at myself like I was charity. I looked at that as God's blessing. Okay. God is blessing me in spite of the fact that I am without a lot of money at this moment. And people are still making away from me, even if it's somebody I don't like. Well, thank you much. Okay, I'm sure I am going to take this gift because what that does is it opens you up to receiving more. But again, that's a mindset thing. You know what I'm saying? And I wish she would change her mindset because I don't feel like it's just open to blessings. But that's just me, and I'm only looking at it from an observer's perspective, and I acknowledge that. I do not know what this woman is actually, dealing with in her real life. But what I can only talk about is what I see on the screen, and that's what I feel like I see. Okay. Meanwhile, Stormy has to tell her, listen, as she told us in the interview, I just started working with a distributor. I'm learning how that process works. And what I learned is that, anyone who wants to work with me at that point goes through the distributor, period. So, Destiny Stormy wants to talk about moving past the issues with all the girls and getting all the girls together. Destiny is really just not here for it. She's like, you and I need to get on the right page first before I get on the right page with anybody else that you try to make me get on the right page with. I'm not mad at that idea because I do feel like if they're let them work on their relationship first and see how that kind of goes along. I on reality TV shows, the goal is always to try to find a group resolve, but I just don't know that Destiny and Melody are meant to be friends anymore. I think that time period is over. And I just think that everybody can just move on from it. It is what it is. Because I mean, at this point in time, I just think it's no, it's just never gonna happen again. And in my mind, what I enjoy is a good group where the two people can be around each other and have shady moments, but it doesn't even seem like these two can be around each other and make good TV together. So I just say let it go and we find another way to make good TV. Okay. Anyway, Destiny basically says no to meeting up with Melody. She's Gucci, no pun intended. I gotta admit that was a good one. And Stormy has to laugh and she says none taken. Over at Black, Marceau is behind the bar when Q, aka Funky Dineva, walks into the space. And basically, he gets the tea. One of the things that I did enjoy, though, was something that Q said about Marceau being the type of man that can be masculine, but also be a supporter of the gays. And I just have to say, anybody that to me, especially when I see other men who are not moved by, offended by, or worried about an association with a gay man because you are straight, to me, I can always appreciate that because what it tells me is you are secure in who you are and you don't have to prove nothing to nobody. And I at that conversation gave me a I feel like I've had my level of respect for Marceau has grown over time, because I feel like I understand him a bit better as I've sort of kind of realized that Marceau likes to play with the audience. But this took it to another level because it does tell me that even though I feel like, and he acknowledges there's some toxic masculinity things that he has going on, that issue isn't one of them. So I appreciated that a lot, and I had to acknowledge that because I'm glad they showed that part of the conversation, and it speaks a lot to where just we as a community of people are at this point and where we're headed to. And it was a nice moment to me. It meant a lot to me, and I'm really appreciative of them for having that conversation and of OWN for showing it because I just think it shows just the growth in people in general. Um, they recap the fight, and Q basically says that you know the women on this show arguing and being catty is putting the men in dangerous situations. Um, I think that in this situation, I think that's true. I think in this specific instance, the women's drama that is not relegated to women in general, but the women in this particular situation, that drama could have led to something very serious going down. And so that part I can definitely understand. But I look at it as a specific situation and not a general one. So I just want to point that out. Um, Q tells, and I agree with Q when he says it feels like Miss Wanda fights a lot of Letitia's battles and that Letitia is complicit in her silence. And Letitia admits that she's tried to talk to Miss Wanda, but Miss Wanda doesn't listen. So at that point, Q asks her, at what point do you say, Mom, if you don't stop, you cannot come around this group anymore? Like, it does have to be a point where you have to say, Mom, you're putting me and my husband in a precarious situation when you go beyond this boundary. Okay. And if you can't stop going around this boundary, I cannot continue to open this door of opportunity. And because that's what it is. Anytime you're able to be on a show like this, it is an opportunity. Okay. And whether you are edited a certain way or not, it is still an opportunity for you to showcase your business, your whatever it is that you're doing, or to make specific moves in a certain direction. And I do agree that at a certain point in time, you got to say, Mom, you're putting me, my husband, and yourself in very dangerous situations. And at this point, it has got to stop. I'm not saying everybody else is wrong in that situation. What I am saying is, it seems to me that the common consensus among this group is that Miss Wanda takes things too far. Um, Q basically tells her that this old school way of thinking that, we have to honor our mother and father despite when they might be wrong is played out, because at a certain point you do have to draw a line that you still respect them, but you still have to set a boundary for yourself and for your group of peers, that you will not allow someone else to cross, even if they are your family, because your family can also be wrong. I agree. I agree. Um, and if you can't acquiesce, then you cannot come around anymore. And let me state this: I like Miss Wanda. I do. I think that Miss Wanda is funny. I think that she's great one-liners, but I still think in this instance, in this one specific instance, when we're talking about, the kids, it's like, just leave statements about the kids out of it, and that's got to be that. But let me know what you guys think, because I have my perspective on it, but my perspective is also based on my own life experiences. So you may have a different perspective and experience, so I'm open to hearing it. Please leave your comments down below. I thought this was an amazing episode. It was great to see Q on the episode, integrated into the cast in a way that feels natural, that felt good, and it felt like a good old, like, down home, like, just meet up at Black. And again, they find ways to continue to, they met at Black. You see what I'm saying? Business wise, they are on point with even having an unpleasant discussion like this. You see how their business was highlighted. They did it in their business, and they don't like, I don't know that they complain about it or not, but what I do know is, we see, they make the most of their situations. And I kind of wish that we would, I kind of wish that Destiny would reframe her thinking to do the same. All right. So that's my review for this week's episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Again, let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys in the next video.